Hey everyone, it's Stegy again, and today I'm going to be doing a tier list of all of the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition campaigns, like already pre-written adventures. I'm not going to be doing anything like the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, handbook, or Tasha's Cauldron of anything, of everything, or anything like that. These are all going to be adventures where you and a group of friends can sit down and actually play through Dungeons and Dragons with someone being a dungeon master and the other people being players. Now, as far as my rankings go here, what I'm doing is if it's S tier, if I put something like high up, A, S tier, I feel like it's going to be really fun for both the dungeon master and for all of the players. It also might have like really good like source material, something that most or if not all players can enjoy, might be easy to run, easy to understand, not too much, not too hard but not too easy, say for the players, just overall what I feel like would be a really good adventure. And then that kind of just goes down to no opinion. No opinion is, while I have been around for quite a while, I have run several of these adventures, I have played as a player in several other of these adventures, and for most of the other ones I have at least like read through the book or looked up someone else talking about it online, what have you. But there might be one or two or three that I just don't really know anything about, and I just don't feel comfortable sharing my opinion about it, so I might put that down there in no opinion. Maybe in the future if I actually get to those books, I'll go ahead and update that, but for now I'm just gonna go ahead and play it safe. I think there's about 24 adventures. I actually had started recording and I forgot one, so I quickly went and put it back on to put it onto the list, and then started recording again. So here we are. So let's go ahead and just get started. I didn't really have these in an order. I did download the pictures in order of when the campaigns actually came out, but the tier maker, once I actually like finalized it and made it, kind of put them in a random order, which is fun, and I'm actually glad it kind of did that. So let's go ahead and get started. This one's gonna be really funny in a way, because the first one is the Critical Role Call of the Netherdeep. I know this released fairly recently. I think it was like the summer-ish this year of 2022. I looked at it at a Barnes & Noble store and I thumbed through it, but I don't really have a lot of information about it, unfortunately. I think it's probably a bit niche. I think you probably would have to be, well, I guess you wouldn't really have to be a fan of Critical Role, but you would probably understand a lot, because I think there are some people from Critical Role in here, at least as background characters or whatnot, or like the area might be from Critical Role, but I have to give it no opinion because I really don't know a lot about it. I have seen, maybe like 50 or 60 episodes of the first season of Critical Role, and I know that that doesn't really, mean a lot. But as far as this adventure goes, it's just not something that I was like really drawn to. So I just never really looked into it. So I just got to put it down here on no opinion, and we're going to have to move on. So the next one up here is actually Candlekeep Mysteries. I do have this one. I have looked through this one. This one, this adventure is probably not really suited to like sit down and have everyone play through, if you know what I mean. Like, you're like, hey guys, we're going to be playing Candlekeep Mysteries from, the designated level ranges. And it's, I think that this actually works better if you just kind of take the adventures from Candlekeep Mysteries and add them to your already existing campaign. A lot, if not all of these adventures in here are kind of standalone. You kind of stumble upon these books and the books kind of suck you in. A lot of them do, and you go on like a little adventure kind of inside the book. That's kind of the general feel that I got from it. So I don't think it's that good to actually run as a campaign. I don't think it's bad. I'm gonna put it here in like C right now, because I think that you can take the adventures from it and again, put them into your campaign, and I think that would be fun and exciting. Maybe you stumble upon an old wizard's, library, and as you're looking through the books, one of them like opens up and kind of sucks the players in, and now you have to go on this adventure through the book in order to get out, save yourselves or whatnot. And I think that's fun. I think that's something that can be fun and exciting. So in that regard, it's not too bad, but I don't think it's going to be really that good for a bunch of players to run as an adventure, unless, it's something that, you guys made characters like your studious scholars going through, maybe looking for something, and you have to go from book to book doing that, and that might be fun. Or maybe you're a thief and you got stuck in there, who knows. But my personal opinion, I don't think it's like that good. I don't think it's like the worst thing, but it's all right. All right, next one up here is Curse of Strahd. Now, this is one I have actually had the pleasure of being a dungeon master for from start to finish. It was actually the first campaign that I ran from start to finish, and I really enjoyed it, and my players loved it. They really loved the gothic horror with the vampires, with the werewolves. I played Strahd showing up from time to time, and one of the players actually really got under his skin. He was our wizard, and he just kept taunting Strahd, and Strahd had grown like a deep hatred for this one, because Strahd doesn't really like, say, like cocky individuals, because he himself is very arrogant. Strahd is meant to be played as someone who is looking for someone to replace him, but he's so arrogant and prideful that no one can really replace him. But he is drawn to players who share similar characteristics as he does. There's a lot of different things you could do in this campaign. I mean, sure, you are stuck in Barovia, and that's not ideal. And your players might not like that they don't really have a lot of freedom, but Barovia is pretty big, and it really does become an issue, especially if your players are willing to work towards, trying to either get out or to stop Strahd or what have you. Levels, the only thing I don't really like about Curse of Strahd is the beginning. I don't mind that the mist kind of envelops someone, and there's different ways for you to get into the mist. I don't mind that. I don't really like the Death House. That wasn't very fun for me to run, and I don't think the players really enjoyed that. But as soon as we got out, we had a lot more fun. I actually had a rogue, and he had a copy of the house's deed, and that started his obsession with trying to get house deeds throughout the whole game, which was actually really fun. And I think that everyone really perked up and really started to enjoy the campaign after they left the Death House, because I don't think they liked that they were in this house and couldn't leave. I think if you change that at the beginning and somehow get to Barovia at a slightly higher level than, say, level 1, like you do start at 2 or 3 from a different adventure and then kind of go from there, I think it's better. But overall, I think Curse of Strahd is really good. I'm actually going to be running it again for my family and some friends because they really want to play it. And I don't think it's for everyone, because it doesn't say, it's not like you don't have actually Dungeons and Dragons, you don't go, don't have the traditional outside, I don't know, it's hard to explain. You are still doing D&D, but it's it's a darker gothic horror. But because of that, I am going to be putting it in the S tier, just like a lot of other people did. I've seen other tier lists and whatnot. People put Curse of Strahd at the top. It is really good. Strahd is an amazing villain, and there are a lot of cool things in here. His castle is a little rough to run. The players did get in there to look for some stuff, and then they pieced out, and they never wanted to come back. It is really big, and luckily they fought Strahd somewhere else. But otherwise, S tier, it's really good. I'd recommend it. If you have a party that likes, werewolves, gothic horror, vampires, monster hunting, this is the one for you. All right, next up we have Descent into Avernus. I started this campaign as a DM, and I've watched some people play it, and I've read through this. This is a really cool campaign. The idea that a city got sucked into hell is really different. You know, the players start in the town, Baldur's Gate, I believe, where the nearby city, I forget its name off the top of my head now, which is awful, but a nearby city got it just disappeared. It got pulled down, and everyone's trying to seek refuge, and they're afraid that Baldur's Gate's going to be next. You are kind of forced almost into beginning that campaign, like under threat of jail or death. I'm not sure. It's one of those two, and that seems kind of railroady. I don't like that start. But if you can find a different way to start the campaign that's maybe not so railroady, I think that'd be better. This also has rules for once you're down there in the first layer of hell, for some really sweet vehicles, you know, like motorcycle things and, you know, giant cars. You basically drive around. It's like Mad Max down there. And Zuriel, I think this is his character's name. I think it's Zuriel. She's one of the coolest villains. She's like a fallen angel, and I think that's really neat. And I think that this campaign has like one of two different endings, which I like. I think it is probably a little harder to run, especially for like a dungeon master. And plus, you know, you're going to be going down there in hell, which is a really fun area to explore. Because how often do you as players get to go down there? I think this is one of the only adventures that actually takes your characters to that area and you actively explore for a while. I have read through almost this entire thing. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to play it or DM the whole thing. I think it's really, really good. I think it does require a bit of work, and you have to have some players, you know, who probably are a bit more experienced, especially with, because you're going to be like down there driving cars and fighting demons and whatnot. I think it's going to be a little harder. I'm going to put it up here actually in the A tier. I really like this villain, and I really like the setting and the theme of this adventure. I think it's actually really fun. And I think if you run this, I think you're going to have players who think it's fun too. All right, next up we have Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Now, right off the bat, just so everybody knows, if you don't know, Dragon Heist isn't actually about you know, it's not actually about dragons. A dragon heist, or a dragon in Waterdeep, is I think 500,000 gold. So you're actually just planning a heist of 500,000 gold. So this is a very urban setting campaign. It has a lot of like investigation and exploring in a city. You could probably be doing some thievery. It has some of the coolest villains in Dungeons and Dragons. I think there's like 4 of them. And one of them, I believe, is a beholder, which is pretty cool. Now, the player characters are going to be lower level. I think you only go from like 1 to 5, but the villains aren't really going to try to kill you, because the beholder is like a high level CR monster that could kill everybody in one turn, if not less than that. But if you want to play as someone who wants to steal gold, if you want to be in more of a city environment, then Waterdeep Dragon Heist is something for you. I believe there's probably way more exploration and social interaction in this campaign than, you know, most of the other ones. Of course you are going to have your fighting and whatnot, but I believe that most of this campaign is you trying to, you know, find the whereabouts for the Dragon Heist. Or the Dragon Heist, for the dragon, for all the gold. And you know, for you to get in, get out. Now there's other people competing for it as well, which I think is really cool. It just shows that you and your group of friends are not the only people out there trying to get the gold. So it just makes it a bit more exciting. So you feel like you're not the only ones, and you can take all your sweet time. Because of this, now, I've just read through it. I actually don't own it, but you know, I've seen people play it. I've read some stuff online. It seems like a very good adventure. I'm actually going to put it up here with the A. I don't know if I put it behind, or actually, I can move these. Can I do this? Okay. I think it's probably about tied, because each one is so different. The Sentence and Avernus does take your characters to a higher level than Dragon Heist does. So if you wanted to do something like Dragon Heist and then branch into something else, That's probably a good idea. But if you just wanted to run one straight campaign, then you could just do Descent into Avernus. But overall, like, Dragon Heist is really good, and I think you'll have players who will greatly enjoy it. Okay, so next up is one of our first kits, or our boxes, I guess, and this is the Essentials kit. So I have this one. This is the second like starter kit that essentially came out for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. This one is really good. It takes place in Phandalin and around Phandalin, just like Lost Mines of Phandelver. This one has rules for solo play. No, not solo. It means like if you have just one dungeon master and like one player. It introduces rules for sidekicks, and then Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I think it's Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Yeah. Introduces more rules for sidekicks, so you can actually create one from scratch. So, and the Essentials kit is also very sandboxy. So while these other adventures have like kind of like a linear progression, for the Essentials kit, while there is a story, because there is a dragon terrorizing the lands, you can kind of pick and choose what adventures you want to go on. You just get job boards, or there is a job board in the town, and depending on what levels you are, depends on what offers are shown on the job board. And I have run several of these adventures, and I've added some of these adventures into like a playthrough of Lost Mines of Phandelver, and I can say that this is really fun. Players really enjoy it, and this is really good for running for very small groups. So if you have one, maybe even just two people, like players who are playing, the Essentials kit is really good. It is sandboxy, again, and the adventures don't really tie together. Like there's one where you go help some dwarves, and then in another one you just go help a farm, and they are in no way related. They just happen to be in the area, and this adventure ends once the characters reach like level 4 or 5. If they level 5 with sidekicks, or level 4 if there's like multiple people. But you fight the dragon at the end, and you have to like get him away from the area because he's terrorizing. So overall, it's really fun. I think this is actually really good. If you're running new players, I would put it up here in A. You can use the adventures from it, you know, if you're trying to spice things up for like the Lost Mines of Phandelver, and together those two would be really good. I'm gonna put it like low A, but with the stipulation that it's if you have like less people. So if like you and like your girlfriend or boyfriend, or you and like one of your kids, or just your one friend want to play Dungeons and Dragons, this is what you want to do. You want to get the Essentials kit, use like a sidekick from the rules for the one player, and just go to town, and it'll be fun. I have ran it with one person who had one sidekick, and they were developing like a relationship with the sidekick. Like they really viewed the sidekick as like another person, which was really nice. It wasn't just like somebody that I was just running. They thought they were actually a helpful person. So I'm gonna put it in low A, if you meet those stipulations again that I just mentioned. But it probably would be like a B otherwise. It's not bad, you know. I think if you and your friends were like bored on like a Saturday night or a Saturday afternoon or whatever, and just pick this up, I think you'd be fine. It's not super exciting, but it is what it is. But A tier for new people. All right, this one is Horde of the Dragon Queen. I wonder if I should put this with the Rise of Tiamat, because they are just one big campaign thing. I might just do that. Let's move this one up here. Here we go. So let's do Rise of Tiamat and the Horde of the Dragon Queen all together, because this is like 1 to 7 for Rise of Tiamat, and then Horde of the Dragon Queen is like 7 to 8, which is the continuation of the Rise of Tiamat. And I think it wouldn't be fair for Horde of the Dragon Queen to be reviewed without Rise of Tiamat. Well, Rise of Tiamat was actually one of the first. It wasn't one of. Rise of Tiamat was the first adventure published by Dungeons and Dragons, like the actual campaign. The Lost Mines of Phandelver was the starter kit, of course, and that has an adventure, but the Rise of Tiamat and Hoard of the Dragon Queen were the first adventure, like the first actual, hey guys, let's sit down and play this. I have played this campaign as a player, and I've ran this campaign as a dungeon master. Not the whole way through. I've done Rise of Tiamat like the whole way, and never really finished Hoard of the Dragon Queen. But I have been a DM for both of them and a player for Rise of Tiamat. If you enjoy cultists, if you like the cultist idea where people are trying to resurrect a really powerful dragon and you have to kind of stop them, this is the campaign for you, I suppose. It is pretty good for people just getting into Dungeons and Dragons, for DMs and for players as well, because it centers on dragons and everyone loves dragons. Without the errata, I suppose, for the first adventure in the Rise of Tiamat, it's incredibly rough. You, as first level players, you undergo so much stuff before you even get to level 2 that it's insane. And it's just a slog, and it's awful. Like, and you just there's encounter after encounter, and there's quests, and you got to do this and you got to do that, and it's just terrible. And you should level several times over, I feel like, before even the dragon leaves the poor town. But they did change that, which is good, and I think it does make it better. I think if you pick up these books, and if you want to run a full campaign and you're a pretty new DM, I think that both of these books, or at least this Rise of Tiamat, is really good, and I think this would be good for both you and your players. I'm gonna put both of these guys up here in B tier. I really don't want to give things D tier, which is weird, or else I'd move this down. But I'm gonna put these two together. These two, it's not bad. These aren't bad. I think they're obviously better adventures, but for new players and new DMs, I think these are fine, and I think your players are going to have a good time running. If you run these, because I mean, it's dragons. Everyone loves dragons, and these focus on dragons and evil cultists, so I think it's easy for players to sink their teeth into. Alright, next up is the adventure I've run the most, and that's the Lost Mines of Phandelver. I absolutely love this adventure. It, as written though, there are things that do need to be changed. I think that, but regardless of that, I think that new players and new DMs will have a really great time playing and running in this adventure, and I think this is one where people can keep coming back to as well, running new characters, or maybe somebody else wants to try to be the dungeon master. I know there are some very talented people on YouTube and on the internet, of course, who have homebrewed additions to the campaign, and it does make it better. Like, for example, the cover art here features a dragon, and I'm personally running my family through this adventure, and they're at the last area, and they have never seen the dragon. The dragon is in this city, and you have no reason to go there. I mean, for as far as story goes, there's no reason. And they realized that. They thought it was just some side quest, which it technically is, so they'll never get to see the dragon. And I think that needs to be changed, especially because it's on the cover art. If you can find a way to kind of meld everything together. I think it's Matt Colville here on YouTube has done a really good job of making sweet additions to this adventure to bring everything together. And if you should check that out. If you're interested in running it, check out his channel, look at all the stuff he's done, and use those, because it does make it better. What's also nice about Lost Mines of Phandelver is it takes place in the same city as the Essentials kit right here. So if you own both of them, I would run the Lost Mines of Phandelver, run this story, but use these adventures in it, because this just introduces new areas to Phandalin, but uses all the same NPCs from Phandalin. So you can, if you wanted to turn this adventure into a longer campaign, adding both of these together would be a really good way, to start. And you can just add them. You could just have a job board, just like this does, just like the premise of the Essentials Kit. Have a job board. When the players are at certain levels, go ahead and throw these up. Now, it depends on how you be running it, I suppose, because if the black spider is terrorizing the players or whatnot, you might have to be really, really careful with that. But I think if you just wanted to spice things up, you can do this, because like in Lost Mines of Phandelver, you find there's a random necromancer, and he's just looking for stuff at this ruins, and aside from that, he doesn't do anything. So he's just some random encounter. It's just something I think they wanted to put zombies into the adventure, so they just have a random necromancer using his zombies to search for ancient magical items in this old wizard's tower. So it's just random, and because of the randomness, you could just take that out, and you could add some of these adventures in there instead, because at least these adventures are tied to Phandelver, and that zombie guy, he doesn't really do a lot. You'd have to really tie him in, say if you tie him into the black spider or whatnot, which is what I did in my game. I tied him in there, but I digress. I put Lost Mines of Phandelver I'm putting it at an S tier. I really like this adventure. I do think it's one of the best adventures printed for Dungeons and Dragons. It does need some work, but like Cragmaw Cave, the first cave you go into after the ambush, is fantastic. I think it's one of the best little caves I've ever ran in an adventure, and I think that this adventure does a really good job of keeping your players engaged and wanting to go to these different places to either find Gundren or to stop the black spider. I had the characters make friends, with NPCs, and like say the NPCs' like husband or wife was captured by the thugs from Phandelver, the red cloaks, and then taken to their mansion. So they're like, oh, we got to go to the mansion and save him or save her. I had a her, but overall really good adventure. Highly recommend it. If you're a new dungeon master and you have a group of friends, pick up Lost Mines of Phandelver and you won't regret it. This is the one. And then after you run this is the one to go to when you're starting. After you run this, if you guys love D&D, move on to any of these other ones. Speaking of the other ones, let's do Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. So this one's hard for me to rank. I do own it, but I haven't looked through it too much. Honestly, I got it for the dungeons. I got it to see if I could take things from here and add it to my already existing campaigns, but unfortunately I can't speak on it. I think it probably would be like in a C or B tier, from what I hear. And I almost just want to throw it up there. Maybe I'll just put it up here. I'll put it up here below Candlekeep, because at least I've read Candlekeep, but actually Dungeon, this is probably better. I'll put it here. It should be no opinion, but I think it does offer some things from what I've skimmed through. I don't think it's a bad pickup. I think if you run this for players who do want to like go through a crazy dungeon, you can. I mean, it's a dungeon crawl, so if you have players who do enjoy that, who do going through dungeons and like exploring and lots of combat and puzzles, this is probably a really good pickup for you. But if you don't have players who like that, because not everyone wants to be stuck inside a tunnel all the time, then this might not be for you. But I do think it's probably better than Candlekeep Mysteries. All right, so next up we have Out of the Abyss. This one I can talk about. I've seen some playthroughs of this on YouTube. I own the book. I own actually almost all of these, and I've read through this at least once. I just like to read through the campaigns. So this one's really interesting because you are captured, is how the campaign starts. Like, you're not out frolicking and then you have to like do a battle and you guys are captured. No, you are captured. You have been captured by Drow, and you are deep underground, and they're going to put you to work. But you're also captured with several other NPCs. And the goal is basically to escape and get back to the surface. Now, along the way, you do learn about plots. Like, there's some demons, or a big demon is going to show up, and you probably should go deal with it. But overall, like, the main focus is to escape. I like this adventure. It is definitely for players who want that sort of like horror insanity feel to their characters, because you will be playing characters typically who have spent their lives on the surface and now all of a sudden find yourselves deep underground with creatures and plants and just things that you have never seen before, and some of it probably straight out of nightmares. And this stuff, and it hurts your character. Like, you can go insane. I think there's an actual like insanity type thing in Out of the Abyss, and you kind of have to keep track of it, or I think it's called madness, and you'll lose your player to it, because there's stuff down here that you're not supposed to see. It is not for everyone. I think it is really good, but I think it can be like all over the place. I've seen someone else mention that in a video, and I would agree. I like the idea that you do have to try to get from A to B. You're just trying to leave, but there's a lot of happening between A and B. I'll put it up here though. I think it is better than Rise of Tiamat. I don't think it's a bad adventure at all. I think it's one of those adventures where if you and your players had, say, played Lost Mines of Phandelver or the Essentials Kit, and you want to actually, play some D&D, and the Dungeon Master is like, hey, I got this really cool book about being trapped underground, and the players, might be like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I don't think it's bad. I think everyone would have fun playing it. But I don't know if it's something you'd like revisit per se. And I think it does take a little bit of work from the Dungeon Master to make sure, everything goes swimmingly, and the players have to understand that you might lose your character. Like, you might go insane because of all the horrors down here. So just keep that in mind. Overall, though, not bad. And I think you get to fight one of the cool demons of Dungeons and Dragons. I think there's several, and depending on how things work out, you fight one of them. And it's kind of up to the DM, kind of not. So that's really cool, though, because I mean, nothing says D&D like one big epic battle against the big bad end game boss person right at the end, right? You fight a big demon, you fight Tiamat, what have you. All right, next up we have Princes of the Apocalypse. I bought this book early. I've thumbed through it. It's about elemental evils, and there's some cultist people like worshiping evil elementals, and you kind of have to like stop them. It's okay. It's an okay adventure. I can't speak on it too much. I was never really drawn to it. I think I don't know. I wouldn't pick it up. I think that if you had played, say, Lost Mines of Phandelver, and you still kind of were like new, you weren't like super experienced, I think you could play Princes of the Apocalypse just fine. I think it's pretty like DM friendly. It was it came out shortly after Rise of Tiamat did. It was like it and Storm King's Thunder, I believe, here came out relatively early. It's okay. It's not something like I will actively go find a campaign for, but I mean, I would gladly run as a DM because I love being a dungeon master, and if somebody asked me to run this for them, I would. But it's not something I would recommend. I just don't think it's that good, and I don't think most people will enjoy playing this one. I mean, if you want to fight like evil elementals and stuff, that's fine. I get it. But I think there's just more fun adventures. I'm not saying you won't have fun, but personally, I would have more fun like being stuck underground and trying to escape, or being pulled down into hell and like in a giant city, or driving cool mechanical vehicles around, than I would trying to stop like evil fire. So I mean, that's just me, but I'm gonna put it down here, and it's because it's I think at least these two. I know Candlekeep Mysteries is like either one. This is a low C because I'll only put this here because you could take the adventures from it. That's why this is here. And Dungeon of the Mad Mage is at least okay, you know. But this one is, I mean, it's hard for me because it's hard for me to put anything really far down here, because I think you can have fun with all of the adventures. I just think that you would have the least amount of fun with this one. That's all. So next up, this is a hard one to see, but this is Journey into the Radiant Citadel. I have to unfortunately put this one as well under no opinion. I haven't looked at this one yet. I know it came out kind of recently. It was like earlier this year, but unfortunately I haven't thumbed through this book. It looks really cool, and I'm really sad I haven't looked at it yet. But I don't know what's up on this one. So we're just gonna stick it right here, and we're gonna move on. Now, this one, next up, is Dungeons and Dragons versus Rick and Morty. So, I'm a big fan of Rick and Morty. I do really like Rick and Morty, and I love Dungeons and Dragons. So I picked up this book, and I love it. I like that I got it. I like the characters in it. I love the dice. The dice in here look like they look like his portal, with a lighter green. Look, his portal fluid gun thing. The adventure is very zany. It's definitely this adventure is definitely for people who like Rick and Morty. If you don't like Rick and Morty, then you might not understand this adventure. It's really funny though, and like it starts with you're like going in a tunnel, and you just don't question it. You're in a tunnel. Doesn't matter how you got there, you're walking down. And it's really funny because that's just how you start, and you just have to accept it. The rules are written for Dungeons & Dragons with some additions by Rick himself, and they actually make it easier to understand, and I really like that. Especially if you're brand new to D&D. Like, if you're a fan of Rick and Morty and you want to pick up Dungeons & Dragons, this actually isn't a bad pickup. Especially if you have friends to do that, because he explains the rules very well in here. The characters in here are very cool as well. They're different. Like Morty, his character is a half-orc rogue. And then you have like Beth, who is I think she's a human paladin or an elf paladin, and then like Jerry is a half-elf sorcerer. They're just different. You know, the classes are different than what you would see as pre-made characters in the other adventures. So that's kind of cool too. I am gonna put it. I don't think I'll put it D because I do think. I mean, actually the adventure is pretty bad. Prince of the Apocalypse is definitely better. If you are picking this up and you're not necessarily a fan of Rick and Morty, the dice are cool, the adventures are cool, or the rules are cool, and the character sheets are cool. The adventure is definitely something you can't really add to anything because it's very Rick and Morty themed. And I mean, it does get you like from levels 1 to 3, I think, maybe 4. I think it's 1 to 3, and the ending is kind of meh. But if you're a fan of Rick and Morty and you want to have some fun, and you guys want to laugh, and you want to play a silly adventure, oh yeah, this definitely goes up to probably B tier. I would put it up here in B, maybe at the end of B, because it is fun. It is a fun adventure. There's a playthrough of it on YouTube. You can watch some people play, and I've looked through it. I've wanted to run it really bad, but no one would hear. No one that I know would really enjoy it. So I'm putting it down here in D tier. Only because the adventure, but I mean, if you want to pick it up for the dice, for the cool character sheets, and for the special rules, yeah, I say go for it. But for the adventure, not this one. All right, next up, this is Rime of the Frostmaiden. This is one of my favorite adventures. I have played through this adventure as a player, and I thought I would hate it because of all the snow, and I love it. I love this adventure. So this one, it is definitely horror. It's very scary. So the whole area is encased in snow, and it's deep snow. It's been snowing for years. like 7 years or something. I can't remember exactly how long. It's been a long time. And people are barely surviving. You can't leave. You can't come into this area. Like, the water's frozen. The pass that comes into Icewind Dale is covered in snow. Like, many feet of thick snow, and there's ice. You ain't going anywhere in this one. And you have to have heavy this is a very survival-y campaign. You have to make sure you're wearing the appropriate gear. You got to have the appropriate shoes to walk. In my campaign, we picked up these mounts, which were birds, and we used them to go from place to place. And we also had a dog sled before that. Basically, it's kind of sandboxy at the beginning for the first couple levels. You can start in any of the 10 towns. Any of the 10 towns has an adventure for you to do at first level. The adventures, though, I personally, when I played through it, I made 3 characters. I had 2 characters just straight up die. They just died. One died to a ghost. One died to little dragons. And my third one nearly died to a giant skeleton, but luckily my teammates were able to put it down and then come revive me. This game is brutal, but you got to be smart, and it's incredibly fun. You have a sandbox at the beginning as you go around helping the town, the various towns, and you can travel from place to place, and things happen in between the towns as well. We found a caravan with an evil person on it. We found a really strange ruins with a demon symbol that we just noped out of there. And we like helped. We found some like deep dwarves fighting against some crazy berserker people. It's great. Like it's alive. This world is alive despite all the snow. Once you get to the mid levels, you start uncovering like the story, and you realize what's going on. Starting to realize what's going on, and then from there you branch off, and you're like, oh my gosh, I think your characters figure out. I think we know how to stop the snow, and you have to decide if you want to go do that or not. There's also a huge, giant, forgotten city hidden in the ice, which is like the true end game. You actually go explore that at the end. After you take care, of the snow, if you do or not. This is a really good adventure. I really like it. I don't think it's too difficult for a DM to run, which is kind of nice because the players can just start in certain areas. You are incredibly limited where you can go, and if you're not out and about, if you're out in the wilderness, you can easily die. You have to, if you're staying in the town, you're typically good at staying alive. You can help the town, whatnot. But you gotta be careful. You gotta not take any unnecessary risks as a player, and just be careful. I'm gonna put this one up in high A, maybe even S tier. I think this is actually a really good campaign. I think I'll put it at low S tier right now. I actually think this is a sleeper. I don't think a lot of people realize how good of a campaign Rime of the Frostmaiden is. You might be turned off by all the snow, and it is a survival horror game. Like our very first PC death came at level 1. We had a player got mauled by a bear, and we had to make a check because of how insane it was. He just died. He just died outright. It was, and we ran. It was crazy. So if you're into that, just kind of out of the Abyss, you'll probably enjoy Icewind Dale. If you like Out of the Abyss, you'll like Icewind Dale. I think Icewind Dale is better than Out of the Abyss by far. I think this is a really good adventure. I'd highly recommend it. Okay, next up is also another one of my favorite adventures, Ghost of Saltmarsh. So I like piratey things. I really do. And this one has, you think that you're going to be on the boat and you're going to be doing naval, combat. You're going to be traveling from place to place or whatever. That's not really true. This is actually more of like a horror game, kind of like a Cthulhu type thing. A little bit. It does have elements, you know, of normal Dungeons and Dragons. You go around and do stuff. Stop the mermaid people, stop these bandits or whatnot. There's a little bit of political intrigue in the city of Saltmarsh. It's actually really good. There's like 3 or 4 different factions all trying to gain power. And I think your base of operations is a boat. So you can use the boat. Unfortunately, as written, there's not really a lot of areas to go to with the boat, which is really sad. But there is a giant octopus, and you meet him very early in this, depending on what you do. I have played this. I haven't ran it yet. This is actually next on my list. After I do Curse of Strahd, I'm going to be running Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I have been reading through it, and I have played through it as a player. And I like it. I really like it. I do think it needs some work. Especially if you want to incorporate the ships and do some like ship-to-ship combat. I think you have to add locations or move locations to like islands so players can sail. I think it's an okay adventure. I'm gonna put it at low B because there's not, again, the ship thing is really disappointing. You actually don't use the ship a lot. The adventure is fine. You know, the overall story and whatnot is fine. I think this one has a slightly better story, Rise of Tiamat and Out of the Abyss. And I think this is easier to get into, these two. Okay. But you're going to need to do a little bit of work with the Ghost of Saltmarsh to make it like truly enjoyable. Especially if you want to try to be more piratey, do some naval combat and whatnot. I don't think it's a bad adventure. I don't think it's bad, but again, you're gonna have to do some work. All right, down here, this might be a little more difficult to see. This is the Spelljammer stuff. I recently just picked this up, and I've been reading through the adventure, The Light of Xarxis, I believe it's what it's called. It's like a level 5 to 8 adventure set in space. If you are a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm assuming everybody here is, and you like space, you like to do some space stuff, and you don't really know anything about Spelljammer, I think that this adventure would be fun. It's not very long. It's definitely something like you could finish Waterdeep, or I'm sorry, yeah, Waterdeep. You can finish Dragon Heist, be around level 5, or even Lost Mines of Phandelver, and then all of a sudden have to start this. I don't like the beginning a lot. I do and I don't. It forces you to get on the boat or ship and fly away. You have to. There's like, even if you refuse, it'll come back and pick you up. Because what happens is the planet starts getting not bombarded, but these giant like tentacle structure things split like the ground, and they shoot up and they're tearing apart houses and wrapping people up, and these little creatures are coming out, and you don't want to be there. And if you run out of the city, you'll see that these tendril things are everywhere, and a ship will take you off the planet, and then you go on your adventure, and you have to like find, you have to get to this main area and stop the bad guy there in order to save the planet. So it can be kind of a shock, it like, especially for your players, to all of a sudden have gone from like defeating a little brotherhood of people wearing red cloaks, trying to stop someone from opening a magic mine, to hey, we're flying in space at 1,000,000 miles an hour or whatever. If you do like space horror things, like the movie Aliens, chest bursters and whatnot, I think you'll like this. If you just want to do Dungeons and Dragons in space for a little bit, just for a couple levels, I mean, this isn't bad. I think this actually isn't a terrible adventure, especially for a group of people who want to experience that, you know. that that D&D and space and whatnot. So again, it's not for everyone, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay. There's new races and new monsters in here as well. The races are really fun. I actually really like the space elves. The space elves are cool, and the Thrykeen, the guys with like 4 arms, those are cool too. I'm gonna put it I'm gonna put it below Ghosts of Saltmarsh, because Ghosts of Saltmarsh is at least grounded in like on a planet. It's Dungeons and Dragons. You know what you're getting into when you do it. Spelljammer, the Light of Xarxes, or however it's called, Xarxes. Your players have to, at least want to be in space. I think, with the Rick and Morty one, you have to be fans of Rick and Morty, and the whole adventure is Rick and Morty themed. But this one is still Dungeons and Dragons. It's just kind of in space, and that might not be for everyone, but the adventure is fine. The adventure is fine for like levels 5 to 8. The ship combat is really bad, which I'm sure a lot of you know. And that's really disappointing. And there's a lot of rules to be desired, but the campaign is fine. I think it's okay. And I wouldn't mind, taking part in it at least once. All right, next up is Storm King's Thunder. I also own this book. I think I've read through it. I haven't played it, nor have I actually DM'd it or really watched anybody play it. Again, it's like Princes of the Apocalypse, where I'm just not interested that much. I am going to put it here at the high D because the ending is really cool. They do have a really cool mechanic thing at the end. It does have like groups of warring giants, which is, I think, a little cooler than the elementals. This one does have cultists, and I think that is kind of neat to try to stop cultists, but I almost would put this in no opinion, but I have looked at it, and you probably don't know a lot of people who have played Storm King's Thunder or Princes of the Apocalypse. So that's why they're kind of down here. It's just, I think there are better ones, but I don't think this is bad. Like, I'd run it just like this one. And if this is all I had to play, I'd play it, like, for sure. But I think there are better ones. All right, now this one right down here, this is the newest starter set, Dragons of Shipwreck Isle. I have read through this adventure like twice, and like I own it, of course, and I'm going to run this as a precursor to Curse of Strahd. This adventure is really, really good for absolute brand new players to Dungeons and Dragons, especially if you give them the pre-made character sheets. Not only are the character sheets already filled out, which is fantastic, but it tells you like why you only have so many spells, or what your modifier is, like how you got to your modifier for your attack rolls. It spells that out on the character sheets, and that is really, really good. This little adventure does have you fighting a dragon at the end, a little dragon, which is really cool, and I think players would really like doing that. There's also some zombies. You get to explore a sunken ship. There's weird fungus things that could explode. And it has some really good random encounters on the whole isle as well. This adventure also takes place off the coast of the Sword Coast. So, like, it would tie into, say, Lost Mines of Phandelver, because it's actually kind of close to Phandalin. If you could even incorporate this adventure into your the other 2 starter sets, and maybe all 3 of them together would make a pretty cool campaign if you take place in that area. I think though that the campaign is okay. The campaign's not bad. It's very straightforward, very simple, very laid out. They did a really good job laying it out. It's not like crazy, but for brand new players, I think it's pretty good. I'm actually going to put it up here. I'll put it right in front of the Essentials kit. I think it's better than the Essentials kit, because the pre-made characters are so spelled out. And it is a little bit more linear, which would help with new DMs. because it's one of those, if these players do this, then they're level this, or if they did this first, then they're level this instead. And it tells you when the character should level up, and it tells you, you know, if they end up doing this thing, well, then this thing will actually happen. But if they haven't done this thing, then actually this thing happens, etc., etc. Helps you like also nudge the players, like if they don't understand something. There's these kobolds that are in both areas, and they'll help. Well, both areas, there's a good area, and then when you go find the dragon, there's a bad area. And the kobolds will help you out or hurt you depending on how you go about it. But this is actually a really good pickup. I would argue that if you and your group of friends are like completely brand new, you have no idea what you're doing, this is a pretty good pickup. If you have a little bit of knowledge, like, or if you're the dungeon master and your friends are all new, definitely go with the Lost Mines of Phandelver, or pick both of these up and combine them and just run all the adventures there. But I mean, if we're just doing adventures, I mean, it's only like levels 1 to 3, but I think it does a really good job for what it does for adventures 1 to 3. I think it's pretty good, and I think it's very, very new player friendly for both the DM and for the players. So I'm putting up here an A for all the other reasons. Like, I mean, Out of the Abyss, I think, is a better adventure, which I guess is technically what this tier list is about. But it's just that these two just are so much better for new players and for new DMs that they slightly edge out all of these. Because I think you're going to have more fun if you understand the rules more than if you have to like struggle and pause a few times because you're not sure what's happening. That's how I feel. Alright, next up we have Tales of the Yawning Portal. I like the premise of this one. I own this book because I was going to use the adventures in it. I'm putting it up here above Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Maybe even... because this has a lot of dungeony crawls in it, because you go down the portal, or go down the well, and then you can go do some things down there. I've never ran it, but I've watched people play it. Like Dungeon of the Mad Mage, I don't think it's for everyone. I think though, like Candlekeep Mysteries, you can take one of the adventures or two of the adventures and incorporate them into your own game, which is why, like, I think if you just ran this straight through, I think it's kind of you know, I think it's okay, but I think if you dissect it and take some of the dungeons, it does kind of make it better. Weird why I do think it's better than these published ones, which is funny that I have these two down here. And then these are better because you could take the dungeons from them. But the dungeons aren't really good. I think Tomb of Horrors is in this one, as well as the Sunless Citadel. And Sunless Citadel is just so good. So that's why that's up here. I don't think it's any better than these up here. You know, this one's a little niche, but I still think this is slightly better because it's like at least a coherent campaign. So that's why I'm gonna put this here. That's just my personal opinion. I just think it's I think you just use the dungeons from it. All right, you got 4 more left as I've been talking here for almost an hour. This is Tomb of Annihilation. I have played this one as a player. I am with a monk, and I loved her. I love this campaign. This one has zombies and dinosaurs and zombie dinosaurs. There is a T-Rex in this campaign that throws up human zombies that it has eaten, and those zombies will attack you. I and my friends, my colleagues in this game, were fighting the T-Rex, and it ate one of our colleagues, but he didn't die. My colleague is stuck inside the exposed rib cage of this dinosaur, and my character runs up as a monk, and I was able to break off one of the ribs by punching it, and I pulled it off, freeing my friend. And then, with him freed, I like punched the T-Rex's like kneecaps to kind of buckle it, and we were able to finish it off. I love this. That's my favorite thing I've ever done. Absolutely love this campaign. Now, I mean, bias aside, This takes place on this island called Cholt. People who have been resurrected, who had died and came back, are now suddenly dying again. And it's up to you as players to figure out why that is happening. The beginning is a little rushed, just like Descent into Avernus. Up here, you're kind of forced. You're almost like you're just forced into it. You just appear in front of this lady, and she's like, "Hey, could you help me out? I'm dying." And you guys are like, "Okay." And you go about and you go to this Cholt and you go help out. And it's like, all right, I guess I wish there was more of a lead up. But Cholt, if you love dinosaurs, I love dinosaurs, and this is like the adventure that features dinosaurs. Again, if you love dinosaurs, this is for you. It does feature what's called a hex crawl. So the map is like hexagons, and you kind of move through the map to get basically to the tomb. All the adventures are almost kind of random. You know, we fought plant people, and like I think a troll or something tried to eat us, some big thing. It's kind of, the jungle was scary, but it is kind of fun. And then you have to do puzzles. You do a lot of puzzles at the end. I had a pet. I was able to pick up a bunny mixed with a unicorn, an Amirage thing. I think that's what it's called. I really like it. I like the campaign a lot. So I mean, it's hard for me to be super objective. But I am gonna put it. The end dungeon is really hard. Really hard. It's like Tomb of Horrors hard, because I think the guy here, gosh, Asarak, I think his name is. He also made the Tomb of Horrors. I mean, so the last area which we were traversing was incredibly difficult. But aside from that, up until that point, you know, I really enjoyed myself. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy myself at the end. I just wasn't having as much fun because of that last dungeon. I'm gonna put it. I think I'll rank this. It's weird. Do I put it? I'm gonna put it at the end of A, I think, or maybe at the beginning of B. I think if you have players, you're like, hey guys, here's what's going on. Here's this adventure. It's got dinosaurs. You can ride the dinosaurs. There are zombies, plants. It's like a jungle, and you have to stop this, you know, lich guy from killing people who've already died and whatnot. Your players are like, oh yeah, let's do it. You know, this is for you, right? This is a good one. If you're just picking it up and maybe, you know, trying to surprise your players, you know, they might not like it, they might not. I mean, this is a hard one. Tomb of Annihilation is kind of hard. It's like low A, high B for me. I think it's better than Out of the Abyss, for sure. Like, I'd rather play Tomb of Annihilation over Out of the Abyss if I had the option. But it is really fun. I really enjoyed this campaign, and I think other people will too. You know, if you're a DM or if you're a player. If you're a player and you're diving in here, you'll enjoy it. I think it's fun. Next up we have the Wild of the Witchlight. I think that's what it's called. The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Gosh, I own this book too. So not only do I own this book, I've actually ran it. I ran a lot of it, not all of it, but I have read through the whole book, and I've ran about half of it. The main reason I got this campaign was for the carnival at the beginning. The carnival that your players can go to is really, really good. It is really, really fun, and it's really different. I will guarantee that your players will love the carnival, especially if like I ran it with my family, and my family really enjoyed the carnival aspect. They get to go on rides, they get to win prizes, and this is all by rolling dice, and the prizes are really cool. The rides are really fun. You can ride a dragonfly. You can go through like a cool hall of mirrors, and it distorts your character. And there's a snail race. I think they're snails if I remember. It's really fun. The carnival is really good. I think it's a main selling point for this one. At the adventure itself, you go from the carnival to the land of Prismeer, where the Fae come from, and the Fae Queen hasn't been heard of for quite a long time. So basically, you go to find out, you know, what's going on, and you find out that the world has been overtaken by these hags. So you kind of have to like stop the hags. in Free the Princess, or the Queen, not the Princess, Free the Queen. It's not a bad campaign. Like, this isn't terrible. I think it's better than, I don't know if I'd say it's better than Out of the Abyss. I think it's definitely better than Rise of Tiamat. I'm gonna put it high B. Again, it does have to deal with the Fae, and you have to have people who are into that, who want to be in the Prismere. There's fairies, and there's 2 new races. Well, in this book, they introduced the fairy and the Haragon, the bunny people, which are both really good. I think they're really cool. I think this is a pretty solid campaign. I think it's pretty good, especially the Carnival. I would actually almost put this at high, like number 1B, because of the Carnival. I might actually do that. Yeah, I think it's a little better. I don't think it's as good as Tomb of Annihilation, but yeah, I think it's better than Out of the Abyss, because the Carnival, I'll say it all the time, it's just so good. It's so much fun. You can just add it to your game and just have the Carnival show up sometime and have your players go have fun for an in-game day or 2. Totally worth it. They'll love it. Really good. Okay, so next up this is the Stranger Things starter set. Unfortunately, I've neither read this nor have I seen Stranger Things, so I can't form an opinion. I've heard it's really good though, and I think I will maybe pick up a copy or try to read it or watch some people play it, because I think it looks good. But unfortunately, I haven't read it, so I don't have an opinion on it. But again, I think I have heard good things. So last up was actually the one I forgot. This is Strixhaven. So I don't own this book, and I don't. I've read it. Through internet. I haven't DM'd it. I don't own it. I'm not a player. I'm not gonna put it in no opinion, because I actually do have a little bit of an opinion. I think that this is probably the top of C, and the reason is if you're a fan of Harry Potter, if you like magic, Strixhaven is for you. I told my family, who we are all big Harry Potter fans, I told them about this campaign, and they want to play it. They want to play Strixhaven because it's basically like the Harry Potter world. You go to a magical school. There's like 4 different houses, and even if you're a non-magical character, you're going to get some magic. That's just how it's going to be. It's not like super long, and again, it's kind of niche, but if you have players who like the magic element, who like the Harry Potter thing, but still like Dungeons and Dragons, you want to kind of introduce them in a way, I think Strixhaven is a good place for that. I think that's fun for people who want to do that, who want to be at the school, who want to be studying, doing magic and stuff like that. So again, it's very niche, which is why I'm putting it up here at C tier. And the reason why I'm putting it at number 1 of C tier at the very top is because you can actually play the whole campaign. You don't have to pick and choose necessarily like these 3 here. You can just choose like an adventure or a dungeon or something from it and add it to your world. And this one, you can just play it. So again, I'm gonna put this here. I don't know any more than that, any more than I said about it, but from what I've gathered, I think it's gonna be okay for people who are into that. So overall, this is my personal tier list of the 24 published Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition modules and campaigns and adventures that you can get. Again, it's a lot of it. It's basically my personal opinion, but you'll notice things like I put Curse of Strahd up there at S tier because everyone puts Curse of Strahd. It is really good. And a couple no opinions because I can't do everything, but that's about it. Again, this is all mine. This is how I believe. If you have any not doubts, well, I forgot, I don't know, if you have any disagreements, if you're like, I can't believe you put Tomb of Annihilation way up there, or I can't believe you put Rime of Frostmaiden at S tier, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I just want to stress this is my personal opinion. I've been playing 5th edition since 2014, I think. What is it, like 8 years? I've been playing 3.5. I started with 3.5 when I was 17 years old, which is almost 20 years ago. So I've done a lot of D&D, a lot of it as a dungeon master, and a lot of it as a player. And this is my personal list of the adventures. So, well, there you have it. Again, thanks for watching. I appreciate you sticking out for my hour-long video. Probably should have split it up, but it's kind of hard to split it up. Maybe we'll see. But again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Stay safe out there. Make good decisions, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.